I don't know about you, but one of my wife's favorite shows, I think we've watched it from the very first episode all the way to the very last episode, probably a half a dozen times, is Everybody Loves Raymond. Has anyone out here seen Everybody Loves Raymond? Okay. And you're familiar with the mom, right? Marie Barone. Okay, now if you are familiar with the TV show, which I'm assuming most of you are, Marie is like this overwhelming influence, like she is smothering her adult children, has caused all sorts of psychological problems and different things. And so when we talk about influencing your children forever, sometimes that's the picture that comes to our mind. We're like, we don't want to do that. But at the same time, have you ever wished that, maybe your toddler, goes to preschool and they come home with interesting stories, or your middle schooler goes to school and you're like, man, I just wish you could just walk with them everywhere. And then if they start to do something that they're not supposed to do, if you're a mom, you give them the nuclear weapon, which is the look. You know what that is, right? That's all it takes. That's all it takes is the look. In fact, quite frankly, if we had more women leaders of countries, when Vladimir Putin, went into Ukraine, if that woman would have FaceTimed him and given him the look, he'd have been like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm backing off. Because literally that puts fear in the heart of children. Look, the only thing that doesn't quite match the look, but is probably a good second place, is the dad throat clear, right? Dads, do you do that? You have the throat clear like, Now, for me, we obviously our daughters are grown, but we have two beagles, and when we let them out, they tend to run off after deer and that type of thing. And it's amazing. We've got these little collars that they beep, right? The first is a beep, and the second, it kind of vibrates to get their attention. And last, it's like, hey, I'm going to shock the crap out of you if you don't come back. And what's funny is, especially my beagle, Max, she loves to be in the wind, right? And she smells the wind, and she's smelling something, and I can buzz her, and I can beep her, and I can call her name. But if I do, hey, she pays attention. I don't know what it is about it, but maybe your kids are the same way. You can scream your head off, but the minute you clear your throat, man, they are attentive to what's going on. And so you think about it, you're like, man, if there was a way that no matter where I was, no matter where my kid was, I could be there and I could pop their hand, I could give them the look, I could clear my throat to keep them from making bad decisions. Because that ultimately, right, is as parents, we just want our kids to not make bad decisions. I mean, we want them to make good decisions, but if there's a choice, it's like at least don't make bad decisions. And that's kind of the thought process behind it. But even if you could do that, even if you could be with your kid 24/7, there's a point in time in which you're going to no longer be in this world. And your child will be gone. More than likely, they'll be an adult and you'll be old and all that stuff. But what about then? Then you can't be with them all the time. So as I was wrapping up this series, I thought, you know what? I think we need to wrap up with this, how to influence your children forever, even if you're not present. And we're going to read a verse. Again, it's in the book of Proverbs. We're going to read. It's found in Proverbs, I believe it's chapter 4, Proverbs, let's bring that up. There we go, Proverbs chapter 1, there we go. And the writer of Proverbs is Solomon, and he says this, he says, my child, listen when your father corrects you, right? Those of you that have kids, in fact, really quickly, let me hear all the parents this morning. If you're a parent, let me hear you. All right, see, they're good. You guys apparently had your coffee. So my child, listen to your father when you correct you. And it's like, listen, then don't neglect your mother's instructions. He says, listen, this is so important. When dad says, do it this way, do it this way. When mom says, this is how you do it, you need to listen, you need to engage. Then he says, what you learn from them will crown you with grace and be a chain of honor around your neck. Not a chain like a dog chain, but like a chain of honor. And what he's saying is, listen, these things that I'm giving you, these things that I'm teaching you, these things that your mom is teaching you, they will last you forever if you'll use them, if you'll listen to them, if you'll allow them to soak in. And I love the way that he says it'll be a crown and like this gold necklace around you. It'll be with you forever no matter what, because gold lasts forever. It doesn't tarnish, it doesn't fade away. He's saying, listen, it'll be with you forever. So here's the big idea today. The big idea is very simple. Your influence will outlast your presence. Your influence will outlast your presence. No matter how long you live, your influence will outlast your presence. So, how do you make sure your influence lasts in your child's life? Well, I'm going to teach you 4 things. The first one is a guardrail. The second one is a guideline. The third one is a guidepost. And the fourth one is goalposts. So I'm going to give you those 4 things. Those 4 things, if you as a parent can take those things and teach them, do them, apply them in your children's life, then your influence will outlast you. Whether they're next to you or they're on the other side of the country or whether you've passed away, they will still be present in your child's life if you will do these things. Now, those of you that are non-parenting units, okay? Those of you who are not parents yet, you might go, I'm just going to tap out. No, don't tap out. Engage, because here's the thing. Whether your mom and dad taught you these things or not, you have the ability to place these in your own life. So maybe you're not a parent, but you need to look at yourself and you need to go, okay, do I need to establish this guardrail? Do I need to establish this guideline? Do I need to set up this guidepost? And what type of goalpost do I set up in my life? These things that I'm aiming for, these things that I'm shooting for. So we're going to talk through those 4 things. So the first one is this. When they are children, when they are young, build guardrails. Okay? When they are young, when they're children, build guardrails. You say, why them? Because you can still pick them up and move them, right? When they're small and they're tiny, this is the time to establish these guardrails in their life. Now, if you think about guardrails, the purpose of guardrails is a couple-fold, okay? The first one is to keep you from going off the road. Those guardrails are stout enough to keep you from going off of the road. But at the same time, if you bump into that guardrail, it's going to cause some damage. It's not going to be damage-free. It's going to be sometimes painful, but it will keep you from devastating and ruining your life. And that's what a guardrail is in your child's life. If you will establish that guardrail that keeps them on the road, it keeps them from going off the road. It's still damaging, but it limits the damage, usually to more of like a superficial type thing and some pain for a couple days instead of completely going off the road, flipping your car over and destroying it, burning into a big fireball, right? That's what the purpose of a guardrail is supposed to be. Joshua 1:7. Be strong and very courageous. God is talking to the new leader of the nation of Israel, Joshua. And he says, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you and do not deviate from them. He's not saying, listen, here's an idea. Here's a concept that you should follow. He says, listen, this is rock solid truth. Don't deviate from it. Now, what are the things that Moses gave the children of Israel? He gave them the 10 Commandments. He gave them the books of the law. And he finishes, he says, listen, do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left, and then you will be successful in everything you do. So God is saying, listen, if you want to be successful, let me put these guardrails in your life. Do not deviate. Do not turn from the right or to the left. Go down this path. This is the way that you're supposed to go. And these things are going to keep you in line so that you make it to the destination that you actually want to get to. So I want to give you some examples. Every time we go through one of these things, I want to give you an example of what these guardrails may look like. Okay, so here's a couple of guardrails. One thing that we taught our kids when they were little is, listen, you only marry somebody that loves Jesus. Only marry somebody that loves Jesus. You love Jesus, right? That's the most important thing in your life, so only marry somebody that loves Jesus. That's a guard. We're like, listen, here's the thing. Marriage is tough. Can we all agree to that? And when you have a foundational difference that is so completely different on this level, it makes it that much more difficult. And so we're like, listen, marry someone that loves Jesus. Only marry somebody that loves Jesus. Now, let me ask you a question. And those of you that have teenagers, I'm going to step on some feet here a little bit, but that's okay because we're big people, right? We're grown-ups. Here's the thing. If you only date people that love Jesus, then guess what? The likelihood is you're only going to marry somebody that loves Jesus. So if you have kids in your home and they know Jesus and they love Jesus, can I encourage you, can I challenge you to even set that guardrail up? And be like, hey, if they don't love Jesus, why? Why hang out with them? Why spend time with them? Why allow to start happening inside of them if that's not going to be something that can go to its completion? If you can't marry them, then why date them? Well, it's fun. Okay, maybe. Okay, there we go. Everyone's like, oh, wow, okay. Here, so, next guardrail. Always tell the truth. Always tell the truth. You think about that, your kids, like, listen, always tell the truth. It's a guardrail. You go, well, it could be a little dangerous sometimes. It could be. You may need to be a little softer with how you communicate the truth instead of just saying, now she's a mommy. Things like that. You can be a little softer with that, but always tell the truth. Another guardrail. Do the right thing no matter what. Do the right thing no matter what. It's a guardrail you should establish with your kids. And the last one, show respect to those in authority over you. Show respect. This doesn't mean you agree with them. It doesn't even necessarily mean you follow them, but you show respect because of the position that they have. And here's the thing, parent, I'll let you in on a secret. Who is the ultimate authority over your child while they're in your home? You are. So if you are teaching them by your behavior, by your actions, that you don't have to respect or honor the authority over them, guess what? When they get old enough, guess who they won't respect, honor, or listen to? So build that into their lives. Build that guardrail. Okay, so those are guardrails. Those are things you can build into your child's life that are meant to stop them from deviating and causing massive, irreparable damage in their lives.